G'day everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Australian Property Investment. I'm your host, Aaron Christie David, and I run a mortgage broking business called Atelier Wealth, where we specialise in helping property investors start out and scale up their property portfolios. And as part of this journey, what we want to do is bring professionals, and I usually refer to them as best in breed. So people that maybe you don't get access to on a day-to-day basis, and if you're trying to Google your way through professionals, you maybe have to go through a couple to find that diamond in the rough. But that's what I feel is our role as a mortgage broker, as part of your team, is to kind of assemble the dream team for you and find out people that can give their knowledge and wisdom without any strings attached. And I want to say welcome to the studio, Raymond Hempstead. Welcome.
Aaron, thanks for having us.
One Contract Property. We'll get to your business in a second. I just want to start by saying this episode is general in nature, not intended to give advice. So if you do need advice, please seek out a qualified professional to help you do so. Raymond, how you doing?
Enjoying the day.
That's
great
it.
Morning to start.
Yeah, isn't it great?
Yeah.
Isn't it great? We're having a chat beforehand, and I usually start by getting our guests to talk about the 3 Ps, a little about yourself personally, professionally, and your own property journey, and whatever you're comfortable to share. I'll let you kick off.
Personally, 57, married 34 years.
Yeah.
Actually, probably 35. 3 kids, 2 grandchildren.
Congrats.
So that's been a good journey, ups and downs of what you have in 34 years.
I can imagine.
Yeah. But it's exciting. Property, I've been in and out of property. I actually lost everything probably about 16 years ago through business and being cross-collateralized.
Yeah. I have to say, just say cross-securitized and it's all good.
Did that. Totally against my accounting principles, but we did that, and
just
got
on
burned.
that, like, I mean, some people just go, what's the big deal when it's cross-securitized? And I'm like, I don't think you know it until it goes maybe off the rails a bit.
100%.
Yeah.
Like it. Yeah, don't do it.
Well said.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
I
appreciate you sharing that as well, mate. It's sometimes those hardest lessons in life that's where you can maybe save someone else from the brain damage that comes with.
Absolutely. And I suppose in that area, even though my background's accounting, and I knew not to do it, I was in a tight spot. We did it. Just don't do it. There's other options. Yeah. The
long way is the shortcut. Is that what? I don't know. There's a saying around that, right? The shortcut's not the shortcut.
That's it. Yeah. So, but back into property, and then back into One Contract Property, and
great
in developing on that side. Yeah,
wonderful. So, in a nutshell, One Contract Property, take us through.
We basically allow people to use their superannuation and invest into property exactly how they're building and investing outside of super. Mm-hmm. They've now got the ability to have that same knowledge and same building ability inside superannuation.
Yeah. I'd say self-managed super funds and lending and borrowing through your super is probably one of the, I won't say grey areas. I'd say it's probably the most misunderstood area. I mean, everyone knows first home buyers, for example, refinances, investors, they're a little bit more straightforward. In the sense that most banks will offer those type of loans, for example. But when it comes to doing things inside your super, one, it's probably, say, a little bit more time consuming because you've got to go through the process of getting it set up, meet with a financial planner, engage your accountant, for example, and then find a broker, because generally if you go direct to your bank, it's not a simple over-the-counter type lending product, right? So I guess my first question here is, when you're talking to some clients, what are some of those misconceptions that come up with buying and lending through their SMSF?
Well, most of our business is B2B, so we're actually facilitating builders, accountants, financial planners, etc. But all the banks, the actual tier 1 banks, don't lend to self-managed super funds anymore. Yeah. So you're dealing with tier 2 banks out there.
Yeah, correct.
So you need to be dealing with a broker that understands and is comfortable with self-managed super funds.
Yeah. Which not all brokers are. And I'll be giving an example. I personally do not do it, and that's why I guess we niche in our business. So again, this is not about us. It's just more an experience share. Bernadette, my wife, handles all the SMSF lending. And just hearing what Bernie goes through, I'm like, this is a specialist skill set. And I know, having been around a number of brokers, there are some high-performing brokers, some big names in our industry that do not do SMSF lending. They just go, it's too much work or not my area of expertise. And so it becomes quite a niched or specialist skill set as well, doesn't it?
It is, yeah. And getting the financial advice to be able to play in the self-managed super fund space, that's unique in itself, because a lot of financial planners can't actually talk about property.
Yes.
So finding that financial planner or financial group that can. But I talk about it. They can talk about property, but they can also, you need a financial planner that can talk about shares as well, so they can talk about the whole gamut. So you're not just being pigeonholed into property or into shares. You need to be able to get the right advice across that advice spectrum.
Well said. I'm not sure. I literally just jumped onto YouTube yesterday. I found this one about a financial planner that went rogue. I'm not sure you saw it.
No.
Shaw and Partners. I'm certainly not making any allegations here. It was just more. And he was pitching shares, for example, that were going to list on a foreign stock exchange.
Yeah.
Got clients to invest. I'm talking millions of dollars, and that's a highly recognized national brand as one of their highest performing financial planners. And it just talks. So I guess where I was going with that, when I was letting it digest over the last 24 hours, picking the dream team, that's a big sometimes it can be a big risk, can't it? Because you pick the wrong advisor, you pick the wrong broker, and they can put you on a certain pathway that maybe takes you further away from your goals compared to bringing you closer as well. So sometimes that becomes its biggest obstacle, which is, how do I get the right team around me that have my vested interests that can get me closer to my goals as well?
But see, you mentioned goals there. That should be the start of any discussion that you're having with any of your advisors. They should be asking you, what are your goals?
Yeah.
But a lot of people, I find, they have goals, but they don't have them written down.
Nice.
All right. You need to have your goals written down 5, 10, 20, 30 years out.
Yes.
So when you're sitting down with your advisors, your mortgage broker, your financial planner, your accountant, you can say, this is where I want to be.
Yeah.
Now, how do I get there? What tax structures do I use? What investment structures do I use? What lending do I, how do I get to there?
Yeah.
And then take that advice accordingly. So, yeah.
It's funny you talk about goals, because I feel like that is probably one of the most underrated parts when we are talking to clients. For example, buying the investment property, that's a mechanism, that's pulling the trigger. But what do you want as a portfolio? Like, how big do you want to get this, for example? And I think sometimes we have bigger dreams or aspirations than people can see for themselves, and maybe that comes out. And you know, I was literally just chatting before we jumped on around the power of self-development, and it comes up consistently when I'm talking to property professionals that have achieved a great amount of success in their portfolio, but then also in business and then also in life, which is the amount they think that investing in property is where they're getting their greatest return, but the greatest return on their investment is their self-development, or the emphasis or the commitment they make to investing in themselves. I know that's something you take pretty seriously as well.
Yeah, I do. Like, our whole team is part of the Grant Cardone University.
Yeah.
We have KPIs in the team, and everybody has to do a certain number of 3 units a day in their own time.
Yeah.
Of self-development and personal development. The company's growing. The only way we do that is, the only way the company grows is for us as individuals to grow as well.
Well said. Yeah, well said. I mean, that's, I'd take away Grant Cardone, because you could place it with anyone, like a Tony Robbins.
Absolutely.
You could place that with like one of the Harvard online type modules, for example. So I don't get attached to the person, but it's just more so the idea or the concept behind it, going, we need to carve out time on a daily basis to invest in ourselves, not technically, but more personally. That's going to give us that greatest uplift as well. It's like that iron sharpens iron, and you have that inside your business. It's clients, again, they're the beneficiaries of that, right? Whereas you get other people that maybe are asleep at the wheel, or their business is lagging, that's going to reflect in like the client's results, as opposed to, hey, mate, if we show up, we keep doing something like this, we keep valuing education, we keep valuing being the best version of ourselves, it's going to show up in our portfolio. And
it will.
You read Atomic Habits, for example, and you read like the 1% each day and what that does, compound growth over a year, versus if you just kind of, the greatest example would be diet, and you go, well, just one chocolate bar, one Tim Tam, one Kit Kat, one McDonald's on a weekend. You don't really, one bad meal is not going to make you fat, but compound over a year, and you go, the bad decisions kind of compound to become, you're really off track now, as opposed to if you just do the small things, like you get up early, read a little bit. If you get up early, spend some time watching videos on investing in property or listening to that podcast, for example, you're gonna pick up
100%.
nuggets.
And that's the whole part, doing a little bit every day.
Yeah.
It's like some people do it, and we've had some staff, they'll do a whole lot of training on the weekend and nothing during the week. And it's like, no. If you do a bit of exercise, if you do 15 minutes of exercise every day compared to 2 hours on a Sunday, you're going to have much better results long term, 15 minutes a day in your health. And health-wise, mentally, same thing.
Totally. I love it. So going back a little bit, I guess this almost feeds into it. When someone says no, it's almost someone's tenacity to go, well, I want to find a way. So commonly and we'll get clients that come to us, a bank said no or a broker said no. Like, all right, give it to us. Let's try to turn that no into a yes, obviously very compliantly, but maybe not every stone was turned over, or maybe it's a different lender that you didn't consider, or maybe it's a policy you didn't consider. So how often are you seeing, I guess, no's become yeses off the back of what you guys are doing?
If you go back, it was always a no for people that wanted to build into self-managed super fund, because to do it, you had to find a builder that was going to build a property, fund it themselves, and then sell it to you. So we started our business from a no and literally found out, okay, it's a no. How do we turn that into a yes? And that was the whole development of One Contract Property, being able to allow investors to say yes in anything that they chose. So we're finding more and more brokers, accountants, builders that are having people come to them and they're saying no. And even we had one last week where a builder had said no, then he heard about our solution, called us, and he's now turned his no into 4 yeses for 4 of his clients that he's now building for.
How good is that? I guess that's a mindset thing, right? Where you go, hey, look, I don't think the no is necessarily a hard no unless you've exhausted all those options, and how would you until you get to a yes? And changes in legislation, that's got to obviously become part of, I guess, super, and what happens and what you can do inside your super is, I guess, constantly under review. So what are some of the legislation changes that have impacted or changed for your business?
The legislation as it stands is I believe is robust and good in the sense that it won't allow you to build a 2-part contract inside your super fund if you're using debt. So you can't buy a block of land and then you can't enter a build contract. So you still have to have a single part contract. You still have to buy a single acquirable asset. And that's really important because it does protect the superannuation long term, because until the house is built, you really haven't got an asset. You've really got 50,000 pieces. So having a single part contract where they've got a deposit and it's being funded by an external party, now that's really good. So the legislation's great the way it is, just because now more and more people are becoming aware of One Contract Property, what we can do. We literally turn a 2-part contract into a single part, as long as there's a block of dirt, and we'll do that. So that the legislation hasn't changed, just the way we put it all together has changed.
Okay, great. Is that? I guess that's why maybe some SMSF investors have maybe veered towards apartments, for example, because or newer. If it's going for something newer, that's probably been a choice because they haven't really known about this type of option as well. Yeah,
and up until now, it's really been apartments have been single part contracts. Because the developers issue that way. Some townhouses and some small selection of houses. But it's really been where the builder has taken the risk and developed the property. And when you look at it, the builder's actually in business to make a profit, and they've chosen the best area in their opinion. If they build something in that area, that's going to give them the best return, not necessarily the investor. So the way we've turned that around on its head is that where do you and your advisors see is the best area? And okay, let's build in that area. And so what we do, we give you the ability to have that choice rather than being forced down a path where the builder says it's the best area.
Yeah, nice. I like the way you reframe that as well. So I guess there's that. We'll go back to that mindset. It can't be done. Have you got examples? I don't know. We spoke a little while ago about a team member of yours that kind of changed that no into a yes, and take me through how did that happen? And I think that's a good case study to to go through?
Which one was that? There's a few.
You mentioned one of your team members. She came to you and said, "Look, she was told it can't be done," and you guys have been able to.
I'll actually give you one. We haven't spoken about this one.
Yep.
Actually came up yesterday. We've got 2 BDMs that are in training. They've started with this week.
Yep.
And there was a builder. He's got 9 blocks of land, and he was looking at how we can actually move those into single part contracts.
Yeah.
And he was told it couldn't be done. Again, he got directed across to us, and we've actually now purchased that whole block of land,
right?
And we're subdividing inside someone's super fund, and that super fund is now going to end up with 9 individual blocks of land in their super fund.
Nice one.
Yeah. So instead of having to buy 9 separate blocks, they're now, through one contract property, they're acquiring 1 block, turning it into 9.
Yeah.
And then they'll build 4 of them, and then sell the other 5, and then keep all that inside their super fund. So that was a real big change around for the developer that was in a bit of a dilemma with the interest rate rises that have just happened or been happening.
Correct.
And found themselves in a bit of a pickle to be able to fund it. And we turned that in literally a no into a yes, where they just changed direction totally.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, that's for whoever's bought that. That's, I often speak about intergenerational wealth. That has got to be some type of
100%.
intergenerational wealth play where you're buying 9 potential blocks, sell off. What'd you say? Sell off 5 or 4?
Yeah.
Keep the rest. You're like, geez, mate, that's a strong asset play.
Yeah.
Right there as well.
But I suppose the intergenerational wealth is, I suppose we talk about this a lot in the office, because whenever you're buying property, you're looking at short, medium and long-term purchasing. And what hasn't been able to be talked about, in my opinion, properly is the long-term hold and being able to be using self-managed super fund. Now, I see this as the best vehicle to actually have long-term asset holds, because you're at a 15% tax rate during the whole period. And so we actually did this analysis yesterday on a NDIS property.
Yeah.
50,000 net income after expenses and after loan repayments. If you're buying that and have that additional income outside of super in your personal name at 47%, and you compare that to inside super at 15%, and you hold that for 26 years, like there's over $500,000 worth of tax savings just inside super for that one investment. So just in that one investment, that can change a generational wealth from what you're living on in retirement, but also what you're passing on to your children or your grandchildren.
Yeah, that's right, isn't it?
Yeah. So it's never what you earn; it's how much you keep, and it's getting the right advice to be able to structure it correctly to be able to keep the most.
Yeah. Well said. It's like in business, right? Like it's not what you earn, so the whole revenue thing, it's what you kind of keep, which is the profit.
Absolutely.
That keeps you going in business as well. So it's great analogy. Reflecting back, what do you think, maybe a couple of examples here, some of the best purchases that you've seen when you've gone on, I guess, over time, you're like, geez, that was a really good purchase and it's done incredibly well. What's some examples that you've seen?
Two that I like. I like NDIS property that we've purchased.
For what reason do you think?
One, it makes some really good money.
Yeah.
All right. But like I call it a karma investment, because not only is it making good money, it's like 9.5%, 10% return. And that's these NDIs, the disabled participants are going to be in their long term for their life, so 20, 30 years. But it's also giving the quality of accommodation to disabled people that they wouldn't have gotten without the NDIS scheme and without this investment. Yeah. So that's a really nice investment, because like I call it a karma investment. We're making money, but we're also providing some amazing opportunities for other people in Australia. But then also a rooming house that we've got down in Victoria. Again, three of the tenants in there are mums that have 55, divorced, had nowhere else to go. Yeah. They've got a space to live. Nice. Nine fully self-contained units inside a house. Yeah. So from an investment point of view, really good returns. Yeah. But it's providing some accommodation or the micro accommodation for individuals that otherwise may be out on the street.
Take me through that. How does that type of property come together? So someone's interested, and quite a lot of clients will really kind of shoot for a cash flow play, which this is classic, right?
Yep.
How would someone's interested going? How do I get involved in a rooming house? What are the steps, do you think?
One, it's got to come back to your goals.
Yep.
Right. Will it actually help you move close to your goals?
Yeah.
And if that's the case, then it comes back to, I suppose, the deposit you've got, because they are inside super. You're looking at about down in Victoria, the 9-beddies are about 1.4.
Yeah, okay.
So you need a 35% deposit. As long as you got that structure set up, or the 35% deposit, building it, there's the ability to build it. There's huge demand right across Victoria, up through Queensland. You can go to the 5-beddies, a little bit cheaper.
Yeah, okay.
But again, what's your strategy? What's your goals? How does that fit into your long-term goals on that side of it?
Yeah.
And whether you're doing the financial advice yourself or you're seeking financial advice from an expert, how does that fit into their overall plan for where you're looking to go as well?
Yeah, nice. Well said. Yeah, I guess we see these from time to time where, I guess the dual locks are now becoming a little bit more common.
Yeah.
I think the proof of concepts changed a little bit. They're becoming a little bit more livable, a bit more sophisticated in the way they're designed as well.
Yes, yeah.
Something like the rooming houses we've seen, I think we've had quite a few clients, SA, Queensland and Victoria, as you've just mentioned there.
Yeah.
I think they're a little bit more open to that type of style of accommodation as well, and starting to get some good results. So, yeah, you're right. What was their goal? Their goal was, I've got some capital growth properties here. I want to complement that with something around cash flow. They've then got to realise that the investment, so that initial deposit is generally higher than saying a single property for 600 or 700,000, for example. So you've got to have that deposit, but then you've also got to make sure that asset, that particular style of property fits your portfolio. Because if you're in a growth mode at the start, that's really probably not going to be your best friend as a capital growth play, but it's something that can complement your portfolio from a cash flow.
That's right. And like we started out talking about goals, and that you've always got to come back to that. How does it fit in? Like you'll see friends that are investing in properties, whether it's in NDIS or duplex or triplex or doing some subdivisions. It's like that may not be the best investment for you because they've got different goals.
Yes.
And they could be at a different stage in their life as well.
Absolutely, different means as well.
Yeah.
You've got some clients that come into an inheritance, and that's a different play compared to others that may not or will not have that type of opportunity in life as well. So, I think you've got to play with the cards that you're dealt, and then look at forward plan and go, right, what type of life do we actually want to achieve? And the other part that maybe doesn't get talked about is how much debt can you sleep with at night? Because there's some clients that can sleep with a fair amount of debt.
Yeah.
Rates are rising at the moment, and there's probably one more rate rise they're talking about as I was listening to as well, versus I don't think I can cope with that much debt, and that affects their headspace as well.
Very much. And that's something, as you said, a lot of people don't think about. Someone said to me about 2 weeks ago, how do you handle the level of debt that you've got in the business? And for me, it's just a normal course of business.
Yeah.
But for the person that I was speaking to, for him, it would be very scary.
Correct.
Because different visions, different position in life.
Well said. Perfect. So someone's, I guess, parting words. So someone's looking to have a brand new house, say through their super. What are your, obviously, you make sure this is part of your goals and your plans. What are some of the other
that's the starting point for everything. Have you got written down goals? And like that might sound really strange for some people. Actually write them down.
Yeah.
But actually write them down. Put them in concrete.
Love it.
If you're a couple, write separate goals down and then come together and combine them and see how they work together.
Yes.
So once you've got that done, and the long-term play is, and superannuation is a long-term play. It is how is it going to fit into that lifestyle in your retirement, and what type of properties you want. So if you've got all that down, if you've got a financial planner or a financial advisor, talk to them. Like One Contract Property, we're a solution that allows you to build any property anywhere. So you don't have to come to us. You can go to your accountant, you can go to a financial planner, find the builder, find the location that you want. If you want some help on that, reach out to the team at One Contract Property. But go and start investing, start doing the research about what you want right across the market.
Yeah.
We're just a solution to allow you to have whatever you want and put that inside your super.
Beautiful.
So, yeah.
I love it. Mate, thank you very much. Really appreciate your time and sharing your knowledge and experience, mate. It's been refreshing and mate, I'm sure we'll get you back on at some point and talk about some developments that you're seeing and some more case studies as well.
Look forward to it.
Thanks very much, Raymond. Appreciate
Thank
that. That's a wrap for another episode of the Australian Property Investment. If you found that helpful, we'd love a review, but most importantly, we'd love some questions because we love getting commonly asked questions from our clients. That gives us some ideas to ask our guests in the future as well. Until next time, take care.